In this WrestleTalk news, several NXT stars are set to be released, major WWE booking plans have changed, SmackDown sees a huge drop in viewership, and Pete reviews last night's episode of Monday Night Raw. Subscribe and enable notifications to always on for daily wrestling news videos.
Support WrestleTalk!
If you were hoping that mass releases were a thing of the past now that Vince McMahon is no longer in charge of WWE, then I'm afraid I have some bad news for you. Triple H appears to be planning to honor his father-in-law's legacy by releasing several stars, according to a new report from Brian Alvarez. Alvarez took to Twitter to say, "I think we have a few NXT cuts today." Alvarez shared the news with his super followers, which is a thing now, I guess? Alvarez didn't specify whether the cuts would be to well-known members of the NXT roster or simply to some stars on the developmental contract who haven't yet been on TV. WWE tends to hire several people to developmental contracts during tryouts, but few actually make it to TV, with many being cut when they don't show enough improvement. The last time we saw a mass WWE release was back on August 18, 2022, when we mourned the death of NXT UK. The show's viewer was devastated. Stay tuned to WrestleTalk.com for updates regarding any releases and all the latest wrestling news. Given the couple of years WWE's creative team has had, it's nice to hear that plans have actually changed for a good reason, rather than the gross incompetence of an old man. According to WrestleVotes, who spoke to Give Me Sport, Kevin Owens was supposed to have returned to TV to join Sami Zayn in the Bloodline story, but Sami Zayn is just too damn good at his job, so plans have changed. WrestleVotes said Owens was pegged to get involved with Sami and the Bloodline, but that's white hot right now. Those plans, from what I've been told, are definitely pushed back, but they're not off, because the plan is for Kevin Owens to be with Sami Zayn. Whatever they had planned for Kevin Owens is totally on pause, because this stuff with Sami doesn't come around often. This was supposed to be a little 3-4 week comedy deal, and it's getting big. Title of my sex tape. Owens hasn't wrestled on TV since September, and many have assumed he was taken off TV so he could be reunited with Zayn at some point. WrestleVotes didn't mention how long we'll have to wait for Owens to return, but if Zayn keeps making Roman Reigns' corpse live on TV, then it might be 2025 before we see Owens return. Unfortunately, Zayn's antics weren't enough to boost SmackDown's ratings last week, with viewership dropping below 1 million. AEW fans will be thrilled by that news. 1 million? There must be a very simple explanation for all of this. Well, yeah, there is. Due to a game of base and balls, I'm told it was quite a big one, last week's episode of SmackDown was moved from Fox to FS1. According to Showbuzz Daily, the average viewership over the 2 hours was 835,000, which even compared to last time WWE moved to FS1 is pretty low. SmackDown aired on FS1 on October 29, 2021 and drew 1.03 million viewers. So while it's no time to panic, it's likely not what Trips & Co were hoping for. And before we get into the Raw review, I and everyone at WrestleTalk would like to send our deepest condolences to WWE star Carmella and her husband Corey Graves. Carmella took to social media yesterday to make the heartbreaking announcement that she recently underwent surgery for an ectopic pregnancy, and also that she had suffered a miscarriage back in September. Our thoughts go out to Carmella and Corey at this very sad time.
Before we get on with the rest of the episode, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, March of Empires, a medieval MMO war strategy game, where, like Triple H has done in WWE, you must ascend to the throne through conquest and develop your empire into the mightiest in the realm. Choose between the 3 factions of the Sultans, Knights, and Sirs. Train your armies, chat with Alliance friends, and get engrossed in the special stories that will introduce you to real-life historical and legendary figures. Choose the right strategy, build a strong army, and dominate the opposing forces. But hold on, did I just say 3 factions? We'll let you in on a little secret, folks. We've heard word that there's a new 4th faction that will be introduced to the game for the first time. We can't say who it is, but fans of New Japan will love it. Hopefully it's Chaos, so I can play as their #1 member, Sue. Why is she in this faction? It's a great time to download March of Empires, as there are awesome in-game festive celebrations with loads of rewards and special events. Plus, if you download using our link, there's some precious in-game goods to get you started. The game is available on the Google Play and App Store, as well as Mac and PC, and you can download it today using our link in the video description below. Please do at least check them out by clicking that link, as every click helps support this channel. Jam that jam.
And now it's time for my review of Raw in about 5 minutes. Also, it's November, so you know. Coming off of the frankly very enjoyable SmackDown from this past weekend, I was quietly optimistic that this Raw, the go-home show for Crown Jewel, would also leave me feeling happy at the end of it. Spoilers? It didn't. The show began, though, with Bianca Belair versus Nikki Cross. Starting with a match will always get a thumbs up from me. This was the first time we've seen the new Nikki Cross in a match, and she was put up against Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair, so naturally, she was going to lose, just to prove how much the character change hasn't actually changed anything. While the match itself was pretty good, and granted this was the most offense Nikki has gotten in I think about 7 years, the match broke down when there was distraction from Damage Katarl. Yes, I'm keeping that gimmick from Luke's reviews. Nikki managed to take all of them out, but was KO'd by Bianca. There was of course an immediate post-match brawl, but Bianca was saved by Asuka and Alexa Bliss. Where have you guys been the last few weeks? Backstage, Bliss and Asuka demanded a women's tag title match for tonight, because why not, I guess. Lashley and Lesnar had their advertised face-to-face segment next, which was actually not face-to-face at all because it was supposed to be a sit-down interview on a split screen. Did WWE know what face-to-face means? Lashley cut a promo calling Lesnar a Lashley wannabe, but Lesnar no-showed the interview, instead going out to the ring, calling out Lashley for a fight, and then the two of them being pulled apart without that much physicality. But don't worry, if you missed that riveting segment, after an ad break, they play pretty much the whole brawl again in a replay, so that's fun. Then we had arguably the best thing on the show, as Seth Rollins took on Austin Theory. Now this may seem like a weird heel versus heel matchup, but Seth was very much the babyface in this one, and he's got a bit of blonde back in his hair again. It's no fluorescent yellow stripe, but it's something. This was a very fun match, and Theory really held his own here, looking quite good in the process. After some fun counter roll-up sequences and near falls, Theory got cocky and went for a pedigree, but Rollins countered into the stomp for the win. It's a nice story being told that Theory was only really let down by his inexperience and cockiness, and paints him in a much better light than he has been recently. He could really do with some wins though. Bray Wyatt will be at Crown Jewel. I'm sure something might happen, possibly. Roman Reigns comes out next to a sea of Usi chants. Man, the fans are gonna run this fun thing into the ground, aren't we? Roman said he spent time hyping up his opponents only for them to lose, so he's not going to waste his time hyping up Logan Paul, but Paul Heyman will. Which was weird. Heyman said that the thing Reigns hates more than anything is an outsider. A nice little teaser potentially what's to come for Sami Zayn. But then he's interrupted by The Miz. I had a real double take here to make sure it really was The Miz interrupting Roman Reigns, but it served a purpose. Miz said he knew Logan Paul better than anyone in this industry, and he could help Reigns neutralize him. He knows his weaknesses. In return, he wanted some help with his Dexter Lumis problem. And while Reigns appeared to be considering the deal, he asked Miz a question and said, "Why does everyone keep talking about Logan Paul knocking Reigns out?" And then delivers a Superman punch to Miz before continuing, when they should be talking about me knocking him out. This was a pretty effective segment. I wouldn't necessarily say go-home show worthy, but good stuff nonetheless. Backstage, Mustafa Ali says Miz has tiny balls. Carl Anderson then faced Damian Priest in yet another singles match for Anderson, which feels weirdly poignant with the ongoing issues with New Japan right now and his singles title belt that he holds in that company. This match was fairly quick, and after some nice back and forth, Rhea Ripley distracted Carl Anderson, which set Damian Priest up for the reckoning, but Anderson countered and rolled up Priest for the win. That immediately doesn't matter though, as Judgment Day beat them up and stood tall, with Rhea Ripley again being portrayed as the X Factor of the group, which I'm all about, though I do wonder what the OC will do to counter that at Crown Jewel. MVP cut a promo about Omos and said he's going to be at SmackDown and is organised a surprise for Braun Strowman. I can't wait. JBL and Baron Corbin cut a long promo in the ring where they said all the Texans there sucked or whatever, and Corbin was going to restore WWE's dignity, and then they were interrupted by R-Truth dressed as a cowboy, and then he said JBL was dressed up for Halloween as an angry old out-of-touch man, and then they fought and Corbin stood tall with an end of days. I really don't care. Then there was a trick or street fight with Riddle versus Otis, where Riddle was accompanied by Elias and he was dressed as Ezekiel, a fact which I didn't realise until commentary told me so. Alpha Academy did some dancing before the match, and it wasn't funny. After some interference from Elias, Chad Gable got put through a table, Otis got a pumpkin put on his head and was RKO'd by Riddle for the win, which all sounds like fun, goofy nonsense, but maybe it's just me, I wasn't feeling it at all. Mustafa Ali faced The Miz next, where in the middle of the match he said that Miz has tiny balls. Dexter Lumis got involved, and Mustafa Ali won with a 450. I have nothing else to say about this match. And then there was a WWE Investigates segment where Johnny Gargano told the truth about Dexter Lumis' relationship with The Miz, and revealed that after Lumis lost his job, Miz took advantage of him and paid him to attack him, so Miz would be in the headlines, including Miz purposefully costing himself the United States title against Bobby Lashley in a steel cage because it would look more convincing. What? This is a bad explanation for this story, saying that originally Miz paid off Dexter to attack him because he liked attention, and then he stopped paying Dexter, so then he attacked him for real. This is the sort of story they made up after they'd begun the story, and you can tell because it's not very good. Then we had the main event of Asuka and Alexa Bliss versus Damage Control for the Women's Tag Team Championships, with the babyfaces being accompanied by Bianca Belair and the heels being accompanied by Bayley. I wonder if this match will have some distraction in it. I have missed proper Asuka in WWE, and her stare down and interactions with Io Sky in this match proved why she's such a valuable asset. This match got a fair amount of time and was pretty fun, with some good hot tag spots, some nice countering of spots and double downs and such, and then Asuka locked in the Asuka lock before Bayley got involved. Bianca and Bayley brawled, and Bayley hit a huge Bayley to belly off a podium through tables, which was very fun. While back in the ring, the babyfaces got it together, hit Twisted Bliss, and became the new Women's Tag Champions, which isn't technically a distraction finish, but there was still distraction involved, so I'm counting it. It was a fun match and a solid end to the show, but I do wonder, why did they have them win here? Damage Control's momentum has been completely scuppered since they didn't initially win the tag belts in the tournament, and their reign didn't really help recapture that magic. Another issue I can see is they've done essentially no character work on any members of Damage Control. Dakota, Io, and Bayley are all essentially interchangeable, with Bayley being the leader because she's the one going for the singles title. Granted, she gave them a pep talk earlier in the night, but that's about it. They could have had something awesome on their hands with this group, and it feels like they're squandering it a little bit. Anyway, this Raw was very mediocre. It didn't really make me more excited for Crown Jewel. The only thing that did was the Roman Reigns segment, and everything else felt very run-of-the-mill and standard. This Raw gets a 2 out of 5.
In this WrestleTalk news, FTR teases one last run. Cody Rhodes posts about CM Punk. Triple H's plan to take over the world. And more.